everybody. This is Larry Matty. I'm one of the managing partners of CRMXchange, and we once again welcome you to the virtual conference, the Virtual Contact Center Conference, and the presentation, How to Enhance Your Current QA Program Using Lean Six Sigma Techniques. Our presenter today is Mohan Nair, LSS, Black Belt Quality Improvement Consultant from VPI. And Mohan has been involved with the service industry for the past 15 years with cutting-edge and innovative companies like Microsoft Canada, United Parcel Service, and the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce. He was most recently the Director of Customer Delight Programs at Lenovo Services Asian Pacific region located in Singapore. Mohan is a certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt holder and is passionate about continuous improvement and innovation strategies within contact centers using human capital and technology as key levers in the new economy. VPI, who's hosting this particular session, is global leader in analytics-driven recording, quality monitoring, performance management, e-learning, and workforce optimization solutions. Over 1,500 organizations partner with VPI to capture, analyze, and improve their interactions. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping items. We will be sending you a survey after the presentation. Your feedback is extremely important to us, so please fill it out and send it back to us. We'll be holding a question and answer session after Mohan's presentation. Please use the Q&A box on the lower right-hand side of your screen to send us your questions, and please avoid using the chat box. We also, I'd like to mention that we are posting the recorded versions of the presentations and the hard copy versions of the presentations in the agenda section of the virtual conference. All the sessions will be posted by the end of this week. If you want to access any sessions, we're posting the live sessions a day after. So the VPI session you're listening to right now will be posted by tomorrow afternoon. I just want to make that clear because we've gotten several requests for hard copy versions of the various presentations during the virtual conference. Also, we urge you to visit the exhibit hall. There's a wealth of information in there, as you probably know by now, white papers, articles, industry articles, trends, product information, and lots of good giveaways. And now I'll turn the presentation over to Mohan. Mohan?
Great. Thank you very much, Larry. Hi there, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to welcome everybody to the Virtual Contact Center Conference today. On behalf of VPI, I'd really like to thank CRMXchange, FWPP, and QATC for hosting this amazing event that brings together contact center professionals to learn and share best practices. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to share with you a high-level overview in terms of my journey here. I have had 15 years of contact center experience, having started off as an agent and worked my way into the workforce management and quality sections of the contact center. And I started to see an emergence of technologies in the early 90s. And have served as the VP of Operations for HSBC prior to going over to Lenovo Asia. And my journey into VPI has been quite amazing, and wanted to share with everybody that Lean is catching like wildfire in the contact centers that I've been involved in. And this session is really to share with you on how to go about to bring process change and how to train your agents and identify key processes to meet objectives using a framework called Lean Six Sigma. Only when these challenges are addressed within your contact center will you be able to identify technology and other infrastructure needs. A critical component for any Lean project really is trying to create a team of professionals, and that really starts at the top from the CEO right down to the team members. So what I wanted to do was give you a high-level overview in terms of what we're going to accomplish today in this 1 hour, and hopefully if there's any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. So let's take a look at VPI. VPI has been recently been awarded various contact center peers in the industry, and there was a recent study that was done by Ventana Research, and they identified key criteria to evaluate organizations within this space. And they took a look at 3 particular areas in terms of product usability, product reliability, and manageability. What that means really is the product intuitive and easy to use? B, how reliable is it in terms of fitting into an organization's IT architecture and sophistication of the development and customization capabilities? And third, and most importantly, is really in terms of manageability. Does it meet the needs in terms of installation, deployment, and administration? And we're very proud to say that this has really given us a very important award for us as we go and develop new and innovative ideas into the quality. An introduction to Lean Six Sigma really is all about what Lean Six Sigma is and try to demystify what this can be to the audience out there. Lean Six Sigma is really an offshoot of Six Sigma, and it's a continuous improvement methodology that I'll share with you that just came on in the early 90s. And what we're going to do is, how do you apply that to service organizations like contact centers specific to quality assurance? And we're going to talk about targeted coaching and skill development as well, and some of the lessons learned and best practices in this. Some of the key learnings for me really is how I went about in my organization trying to fine-tune and develop a quality monitoring process within our contact center. So here we go. We're going to actually take a look at the current business environment. The current business environment today, as you see, is really 20% of the iceberg, so to speak. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some of the things that we are seeing in terms of customer satisfaction and organizations having very low margins to compete, choices and substitutes out there that customers can really choose from, and declining sales revenues in a very competitive marketplace. As we drill deeper using the Lean Six Sigma methodology, what we're seeing is identifying some of the root causes that are causing some of the factors to customer dissatisfaction or low margins. And working in a very recessionary environment, we have to do more with less. And what we're also uncovering is broken processes within the organization that's really making agents difficult to process a particular transaction or to provide outstanding customer service. So in this, we're taking a look at excessive work in process, batch processing, and really ineffective leadership in the sense that having team leaders and supervisors trained to identifying what we are actually going to learn. So getting team leaders and supervisors to be aware of some of the early warning indicators. So having said that, we're going to take a stab at what is quality assurance. It means different things to different people, and I just condensed it to the top 3. It really is a proactive method for identifying business issues in terms of helping the customer, provides the customer with lots of opportunities for them to stay with us. And also from a compliance point of view, to take a look at areas that we could mitigate some of those risks using certain processes that we can develop and classify these outcomes. And last but not least is, what do we need to do to stay competitive and be out there in the forefront of our customers' minds? So having said that, I want to take a step back in terms of identifying what are some of the KPIs most contact center organizations have in this perfect storm. And most often we see that they are coming to look at opportunities to see how can we go into other channels, reduce costs, and take a look at how we can maximize our opportunities, whether it's chat or whether it's going into an interface and maximizing our website, or using kiosks or self-service options. So these are considerations that center leaders are taking a look at. How do we reduce cycle time and improve our delivery times? Escalations and complaints are, again, one of the top KPIs that leaders tend to use as a barometer to see how they're doing in terms of satisfaction, and also employee satisfaction. This is really also a key indicator in terms of what are we going to see in terms of attrition and turnover or defection of star employees to other organizations. And whilst we're doing that, we're trying to take a look at emerging markets, going into a place where we can increase our brand awareness and presence. These are the things that keep a CEO awake at night. And having said that, I'm not sure how many of you have had Six Sigma background or Six Sigma history in terms of knowledge, but for the interest of everybody, I'm just going to talk about what Six Sigma is and how it actually developed. It really is about reducing defects, improving processes, and really providing the voice of the customer to drive the internal processes within the organization. So the output is really what the customer desired and wanted. First, it's a level of quality, and it's a statistical measurement of variation within a particular process. And achieving a Six Sigma level of quality means you're really one of the best in class, and it comes down to about 3.4 defects per million opportunities. Now, that seems like a tall order, but a lot of companies have actually achieved that or on their way to achieving that. And this strive for perfection is what is maybe daunting, but it's this striving for perfection that keeps us really focusing on Lean Six Sigma and Six Sigma. Secondly, Six Sigma is a problem-solving methodology that uses teams of people, and it's, again, a people-centric internal organization that has got a buzz driven towards continuous improvement within the organization. And the selection of these folks is critical in terms of their competencies, in terms of their skills to actually drive. On the other side, the people side of things is also, it has to be championed by the CEO or a senior team member who are actually going to deliver the message. Last but not least, Six Sigma is a management philosophy. In my experience, having worked at many organizations and having earned my belt the hard way, I found that it's really a management philosophy that brings into account all the management techniques that I've learned, that focuses on change management, focuses on taking a look at information, data, and really doing the management by wandering around and talking to people. That has really allowed me to become more effective in trying to diagnose a particular issue or problem. And the person that's been really good at this is really Jack Welch and Larry Bossidy. And some of the companies you'll see here have embraced Six Sigma. And you'll see names like Black Belts, Top Guns. These are just project aims that a particular organization can give. And I know in the last few years that I've been associated with projects, we've delivered millions of dollars. And if you can see the performance of these companies in the marketplace, you will see that Lean and other continuous improvement methodologies have really made a difference. So what is Six Sigma? As I talked about, 3.4 defects per million opportunities. It's really trying to understand the voice of the customer, as I said earlier, and trying to use this rigorous data-driven methodology from what the customer is saying to take a look at some of the business cases, and I'll talk about that in this case study. This one particular case study that we're talking about average handle time or handle time optimization, and how we can actually use this data to make a difference. Last but not least, it is really part of the training to get people aware of what it is before we go out there and deliver the tactical stuff. So it starts within the team itself to try and get an understanding and awareness who we're going to select, what projects are we going to select, who is the prime person who is going to take the CEO's message. And oftentimes I found that it's really the quality team and a few folks from the workforce management team, but really the true champions are the folks in the quality team, because they're the ones who are listening to the calls, evaluating these calls, and really they're the early warning indicators that will tell a team leader, a supervisor, or a call center manager some of the issues that they keep seeing. And those are the people that you need to include in your project team. Lean Six Sigma has come a long way in its inception, and it breaks away from Six Sigma because Lean primarily focuses on cutting waste, eliminating waste, cutting the fat, and trying to refine the processes, trying to refine the cycle times to make sure that the customer ultimately gets value. Anything that adds no value to the customer requirements should not be considered at all, should be eliminated. And the other part is, it's the speed in which it's done. Most of the projects that Lean managers or black belts undertake, they're usually 3 to 6 months in scope. And you will be able to see gains as early as 60 days, as soon as these changes have been implemented. And I'll talk about this particular case study. So what are the 8 types of waste? You'll see waste of overproduction, waste of wait times, transportation, processing, inventory, movement, rework. And the last part is really something that came on in the last few years in terms of the PCI compliance, internal issues in terms of, are we hiring the right people, why are they leaving, and trying to figure out ways to reduce theft and fraud within the organization. So this diagram here is primarily what Lean Six Sigma is. This is the workflow that we have actually taken and improvised to our solution that we're going to recommend. It comes down to define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And I'll walk through this step here quickly to explain what that means. We're going to define what are we going to look at, what metric are we going to improve, what are the areas that we need to focus on. So that comes down as a collaborative process that you are going to be tasked with by the CEO or the call center manager. Then you're going to go out there and measure using statistical evidence, whether it's quality scores, whether it's attrition, whether it's complaints from customers, surveys. You're going to measure this. And the third part is analyzing what this actually means from the customer's point of view. So it's very important to understand that you build processes to suit the customer's needs. And if you're segmenting the customers, these groups of customers, a premier customer may have different needs than someone who is at a lower level in terms of needs. So it's really critical to take a look at. And as you come up with some of these pilots or these beta improvements, start off small. Start off with tweaking a few things within your process. Oftentimes it's usually a broken process and the lack of awareness in the front lines. I know where we worked at HSBC when we were merging and acquiring other banks, there were legacy systems when we were acquiring other banks and other departments that we had to integrate. Maybe there are certain things that the agent is doing. They had like 29 applications to give a customer what his loan payment was. So perhaps that's one thing that you can pick up in the quality calls and then make these improvements. Do them incrementally. Don't start off quickly and then start monitoring and watching and controlling these improvements you've made. That's pretty much what the Lean Six Sigma cycle is all about. So let's ask, what are the pain points that your customers are facing? You will hear that on the calls. You will hear multiple transfers. You will hear customers saying certain things. You will pick up on these things, and you'll be able to find out whether it's the mandate of the organization if first contact resolution is a critical area to improve handle time optimization, whether it's cost that you need to rein in on the cost. And oftentimes, most of the times anyway, that I've been involved in, compliance is a big issue, and it's becoming a big issue in terms of data protection, in terms of theft, and using this or selling this to third parties. So let's identify what they are. Try and identify early on what are the key players you want to select as part of your team. And as you're going through the selection process in the define stage, one of the things that I'd like to offer out there is, rather than focusing on the trivial many, of course there are so many things that we want to focus, it's quite important to take a look at the critical few, the ones that have high impact for the agents, the ones that have high control within the realm of your possibilities, within the realm of your team. Pick those, what I call the low-hanging fruits, in order for you to make those improvements stick. And going on to this slide, let's take, for example, you've identified handle time seems to be an issue within your organization, and you need to focus on call control, or maybe reducing the number of multiple transfers or hold times, etc. Whatever you have identified in your discovery stage, there are certain things that are low-hanging. Before you take a look at the most juiciest apples on the tree, let's pick the ones that we can focus on, that you can tweak on without having significant costs incurred within your department. Perhaps it's training that's an issue. Perhaps your quality form needs to be revamped. These are the things that through intuition you're able to find out from interviewing folks in the front lines. And that's where significant improvements are going to be made, and buy-in from the agents, your workforce management team, your other teams that are supporting your contact center. Learn the basic principles of what lean is. It's to eliminate waste, reduce complaints, building processes to suit the customer, not the other way around. Once you've picked the low-hanging fruit, then you're ready to go to the next stage, where you start pulling in more statistical advanced tools and start taking a look at analysis of variation and other complex calculations. But at BPI, we've been able to leverage that and use some pretty cutting-edge technology to help our customers. And the next stage, when you reach this bar, you become really the best in class, the GEs or the Allied Signals or the Honeywells or the Motorola's. And then you will be sought after and become a case study for other organizations as well on how to learn from you as you go on to the next level within your organization. So, in the define stage, we've defined the people, we've defined the low-lying fruit, the low-hanging fruit, and what exactly the customer is saying to you in ways that are spoken and not spoken. Gather the information on your current state. Do a current state evaluation, current situation. Where are we at in terms of our service levels? Are we meeting our service level objectives? What is our abandonment rates? Use your current state to take a look at it, and then start analyzing the data. As you're analyzing the data, be very careful in terms of looking at data, not just for a particular time, but a period of time. You want to see trend lines happening. And seasonalities is also something that you should take into consideration. Then you analyze. In the analyze stage, it's quite critical. As you're doing a measurement, there are several areas we talk about. Oftentimes, the employee is often evaluated on quality or their handle time or their adherence. As you see in this graph, customer satisfaction or complaints that is tied to a particular employee is often not considered in this equation. And it's really important to take customer compliments, customer complaints, to factor in to the performance of an employee. Equally, that is important is also the feedback from the team leaders and the peer groups as well, as you're doing a metrics evaluation. In the analyze stage, figure out what the root causes for the customer's pains. Traditional quality assurance has always been taking a look at selective, random call monitoring, and instead of sifting through the different interactions that may not provide direct coaching opportunities, what happens is that we are randomly evaluating, in my opinion, that my team and I used to do in the past, very low value, highly labor-intensive monitoring sessions that provided very little intelligence information about what the customer experience was all about. And these are the things that we wanted to help train our agents to help uncover what those broken processes were. What are the work rules that are causing these things? And why are we not having enough staff? Queue management. And as a result of this, the best practice calls or the worst or the poor calls are often left unheard. So it's really important to focus the calls or evaluations on some of the things that matter to your customer, that matters to your CEO. These are the things that really give you the bang for the buck, so to speak. Traditional quality evaluators tend to focus on a lot of metrics that I talked about earlier, and it's very policy driven in terms of did they do this, did they do that. Oftentimes, a really good quality evaluator can pick up the nuances, volume, inflection, tone, articulation, the language, the speed in which they are speaking. They can pick up the words that are said. Oftentimes, you can hear 80% or 90% quality call, but from a customer's perspective, they did not provide a wow experience. And so we go back and we take a look at what can we do to assist the customer, to educate the customer. What are some of the things that traditional quality monitoring tools are not doing? And hence, we've come up with some of the solutions here that help uncover some of those things. In the analyze stage, depending on which service type you're in, these are the things we found that matters to the customer through our internal metrics that are able to provide some intelligent, intuitive information. If you're in a sales environment, these are the things that we take a look at. And of course, from a compliance point of view, it matters to the customer whether their credit card information, their personal information stays within your organization, that is safeguarded and it's not breached in any way. And there are stiff penalties for that. In the previous life that we had a breach in our security where information was compromised. This organization, we had a stiff penalty, and we learned from that. From a service organization, it's also similar. Support the case type, the ticket. How long did it take to close the ticket? In a collections environment, promise to pay, the dollars collected. What is the manner in which the collection agent use sensitivity, empathy to negotiate and talk to the customer? In today's trying times, economic situations are really bad. It's the soft skills in collections, the empathy that really makes a difference to that customer and the ability to pay. In the insurance, healthcare, trading, and public safety, these are the data that we can tag to pull to see customer behavior and predict. And as you're going through this analyze stage, you may have other areas as well. other elements that you can add and build for your specific environment. I'm just going to walk through in terms of what are some of the things that an agent, who is such a critical member of this whole equation in terms of the ability that they can pull and retain within your database. So here's an example. They go through, they pull up, the event is captured, they ask the questions, there are certain things that we talked about that they're going to pull, the attributes are collected, and that is pretty much what the call is. Now what's going to happen is the moment they click OK, the event is captured and it's retained. And as a result, you have all the attributes that you define that matters to the customer and matters to your organization. Using this information, you're able now to build a good case to enhance your quality program. You have recorded calls that come in through various ways, whether it's a call, whether it's through the screen, and through our interaction assembly. We're able to pull all of this in a sequential, logical manner to help. It basically does most of the heavy lifting for the team in the old days, and it pulls all the data through operations, throughout operations, and it really captures and puts together a storyline that tells the total customer experience within your contact center. So you can see that the contact center pulls data behind the scenes. It's what I call the hidden factory. The analytics is just incredible that we can build now on how we can tailor this to the voice of the customer. You'll often hear this VOC acronym tossed around, but to me it's about hearing the voice of the customer and the voice of the employee too, to build that total customer experience equation. Now, let's take a look at high-value interactions that I talked about in terms of being very specific and looking with laser-like precision. If first contact resolution is important, well, then this attribute, repeat calls, is an indicator that may cause some pain for your customer. Well, let's classify that and listen to the repeat calls for this group. Customer defection. Why are they defecting? Are they canceled accounts? I want to listen to all the canceled account and canceled orders. Handle time optimization, I'll talk about that case study earlier mentioned. These are the ways that we can look in terms of how can we optimize in these buckets, little increments, 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 5 seconds, that you add them up in the days and weeks, it'll make a significant difference. Sales acceleration, no different. Same thing in the collections area. And I talked about earlier in terms of the PCI and data security standards. This is a non-negotiable in most of the organizations that I go in, and it's very critical to understand through access privileges or access rights that agents can go to certain screens, and certain screens they can't unless they have supervisory access. So let's take a look at handle time optimization. How can we reduce them while trying to improve customer satisfaction? Well, we need to take a look at some of our policies and processes that are driving up handle time. As I mentioned at the bank, we had, prior to this Lean Six Sigma project, we had an agent queue that was handling 27 applications that were dealing with high net worth accounts. And they were very, very frustrated, especially the customers that just wanted information. And we decided to do some work with our partners. Through call monitoring, we were able to pick up some of these things. You can analyze handle time by the interaction type, the reason, or the product. It's very sophisticated in terms of pinpointing, according to you, based on what you've heard the customer say or what means a lot to your customer. You can take a look at handle time by processes within these interactions, what they are, what they look like. You can take a look as you take a look at the anatomy of a call as soon as it comes into your contact center and the agent answers hello to the moment they say goodbye. It goes into after-call work, the wrap time. Can we make a difference there? Well, you could. There's opportunities. Are there repetitive tasks that they are doing that we can optimize that? Take a look at the call flow. Is your script outdated? Do you need to improvise the script? Does it help asking that question and creating a frustration level for the customer? So these are the indicators, the multiple holds, the long hold times, the multiple transfers. I'm sharing some of these tips based on this case study that we have uncovered. And in this particular area, we can see an agent takes 3,600 calls, and random evaluations of 3 calls per month per agent is really not a valid sample, in my opinion, as a Lean Six Sigma person. And oftentimes, talking to people, we found that agents and interviewing agents, we found that most agents typically get feedback that is not current. Usually it's after 15 days. And they're trained on everything, not one specific skill. What focused, actionable quality assurance does is, by targeting with laser-like precision these type of calls that you identify, your sampling rate is going to go up. You're going to gain better control, better accuracy, and it gives you insight into your operations that you've never seen before. And it's going to help the total customer experience by fixing some of these internal processes that you may not be aware of. And what happens, this is the best part that we got the bang for the buck while I was working at this organization at Lenovo, was we were able to make decisions and provide targeted training to our agents that they appreciated. They got feedback within a day or 2 days. And I talked about the stages of a call. So as you're taking a look at the anatomy of a call, figure out which are the areas. Perhaps it's section 1, where you have multiple holds and transfers happening that affect the handle time. Perhaps it's the amount of notes that the agent has to put based on the information or the complexity of the call that's affecting or driving up your ACW. So if you add 1 and 2 together, that's your handle time. Maybe your forecast for handle time when you're doing your capacity planning has not taken into account the realities of your business. If you have 3 minutes as your handle time goal, is it really 360 seconds? I mean, is it really 3 minutes? 180 seconds. Maybe it's 220 seconds. But these are the variations that we can discuss in your projects as you're going through this process. Well, now that you've identified that, what do we need to do to improve it? And I find that the low-lying fruit typically is in this section here where it involves our men and women that are actually on the front lines, our project teams, our team leaders and supervisors. I put this performance maintenance matrix here for a very simple reason. Oftentimes, if you take a look at quadrant 1, that's where your high performers who are really low maintenance in terms of they know what's expected of them. They are your high performers that deliver results, revenues. Quadrant 2 is your high performance, but there are some performance opportunities that you need to work on. But they're still high performance. You're delivering the results. Quadrant 3 and Quadrant 4 is really where your opportunities are. And oftentimes, I see team leaders, managers, supervisors focusing their time, 80% of their time, on the Quadrant 3 and Quadrant 4. And what happens as a result of this is no one goes to Quadrant 1 and 2 for feedback or promotions, job opportunities to maybe work on project teams. So here's a fair way, by using quality, using targeted quality, coaching, you're able to take a look at your matrix in ways that you haven't seen before. It's what I call a 360 view of your contact center. And this is where the greatest leverage comes from your low-lying fruits. And again, some of our customers have given us feedback in terms of their coaching, whether it's through e-learning modules or instant coaching, has shown, and this is a fact, has increased productivity, whether it's motivating someone or inspiring someone or putting them on a project team. It means a lot to them. And coaching, using the quality evaluations, is the single most event that has the greatest impact on the customer experience. And some of these programs, I'm sure you've seen this as well, does make a difference. And one of our customers has actually said that. They've embraced a totally different culture just by bringing this into their workforce. So this case study that we talked about in terms of average handle time, oftentimes call center managers tend to look at service levels and abandonment in isolation. It will help to put this together as we did in our case. As you'll see, we experienced poor service levels for the first 5 months of the year. And no one was bringing in the quality piece, and no one was bringing in the average handle time piece. And then suddenly it spiked. Well, there were certain factors that led to the spike. We took on this project in February, and we studied it, and we started to see significant gains. And then we started to dip, and we started to pick up. So when you're taking a look at handle time optimization or handle time as a project, it's important to take a look at other metrics as well. And usually the indicator is service levels and your abandonment rate. The other factor that most people take into account is occupancy, which really tells you quite a lot in terms of staffing levels and how you can better improve. And these are just ideas I'm tossing out that you could leverage, and I can discuss this in detail if you'd like. So as a result of this quality improvement results, we were able to segment our customer pool in tactical ways, in tactical channels, because not all calls are created equal. Some calls are coming through email, some calls are coming through the phone, and we're able to skill our groups and handle this in such a way that our results started to improve. And this was the outcome of our Lean Six Sigma project that we undertook. And it helps to give your team that pat on the back, that visualization on how this whole quality improvement philosophy has sparked innovative ideas within the team. Now you're going to start controlling and standardizing your processes and monitoring these results. Well, we have a solution to that too. We have many ways you can do that. We can set up timely alerts. I mean, I was an agent and I worked on the front line for many years, and I love to see stats in terms of how I'm doing in relation to the rest of my peers, and also in terms of my quality scores. So at the agent level, they're motivated, and they already know how they're doing. The management team, the safe team, or the quality monitoring team also are able to find out who are the best practice agents for buddy mentoring programs. And it's amazing how these alerts has an impact, aside from the wall bars in terms of how many callers are in queue and what your service level is for the day. My recommendation is to try considering putting something like a desktop ticker to see how the agents are doing real time. It has a phenomenal effect. Some of the key takeaways, I hope, through this session, you're able to come up with some of the projects that you were probably thinking of and using quality to unify and to bring together teams and to talk about what quality means from your perspective to these teams that are actually working in the contact center, whether it's through a new hire orientation process or whether it's refresher training bringing in marketing, bringing in different departments to unify teams, and everybody is singing out the same page, and it makes the CEO's job easier. And oftentimes, I don't think this has been sold enough in the boardroom, and it's really important to get the message, to get a champion from your senior leadership team to come around and walk around and talk to the men and women. It makes a tremendous impact when we do that. Last but not least, the visibility of the metrics has to be front and center, as also are what I call the soft skills in terms of the employee pulse, employee survey. And Lean Six Sigma is just another methodology. It underscores several other programs that are there as well. But Lean gives a voice to quality teams. Lean is fast. It's done with speed, and you see results quickly. And as a result, it creates a continuous improvement culture where in the next few months and years, it's going to be tough for every organization. There's no organization or call center that I've spoken with understands the importance of this, to do more with less, etc. But it'll be governed by leadership. And in these times, it's really hard to find good leaders. And those leaders are there on your quality teams, on your operations team. And it's my wish that I wish you the best on your quality journey, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. And Larry, thank you very much for having me on today.
Mohan, for a very fine presentation. I'd like to thank everybody for attending this particular session.